Last time we made a video like this, I had to start it out with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer actually came true because we made a video talking about the Jeff Petrie trade price, and I said at the beginning, hey, I'm pre-recording this video, it's going to go up tomorrow morning, so if anything happens, if he gets traded, then I have the pass to make a video about him getting traded after he actually gets traded. And lo and behold, he did get traded, so I have to say the same disclaimer here. If the Toronto Maple Leafs re-sign William Nylander to a contract extension before this video gets publicized. I'm recording it on the night of Tuesday, August 22nd. I had just gotten back from watching Blue Beetle. It was pretty good, admittedly speaking. And I wanted to record some audio about the Leafs. If this contract extension gets done before the video goes public, then hey, that's my bad. But for now, what we have is a pretty bad update on the entire Nylander situation. At least that's kind of what all the articles are spinning it as. Let's head over to an article on hockeypatrol.com and read what a reporter reveals could be the worst for William Nylander and the Maple Leafs at the moment. This article was published by Dawson McKenzie, and what it does is it cites a podcast of the Leafs Morning Take show. Their episode will also be linked in the description, as will the link of this article. The dog days of summer are here. Leafs Morning Take for August 21st. So this is the same Leafs Morning Take show that we all know and love. They do some pretty good work, and the podcast, of course, is a pretty good listen. But what I wanted to do was go over some of the comments made on this show by Jay Rosehill and Nick Algebra, because they kind of go over their own perspectives as to the Maple Leafs and their situation, Matthews, Nylander, etc., and it's not a good idea here for Willie. Take a look at the Auston Matthews update before we get into the meat and potatoes of William Nylander. My theory is that Auston Matthews' contract is already finalized. It reminds me of Nathan MacKinnon from last year. Even though they didn't announce it on July 1st, everybody knew that he would re-sign, especially after winning the Stanley Cup with Denver. The announcement came around training camp. Similarly, I believe Matthews will sign his extension when this year's training camp starts. Regarding Nylander, though, given his history and his known stance of his father, he has shown he is willing to negotiate until the last minute. This is a pretty good point when you consider how Michael Nylander has gone out there and negotiated with a bunch of teams. He is one of the NHL's biggest journeymen and admittedly a pretty good cheat code for all of your Puckdoku quizzes every day. But when it comes to William Nylander, we all remember what happened last time. Literally the last time William Nylander had a contract extension negotiation. They dragged things out until December pretty much, and he wasn't able to play the full year. He was held back because he was negotiating, and they got the contract done at literally the last second possible before he was ineligible to play for the rest of the year. Now, you don't technically have the same problem here because Nylander is not going to be prohibited from playing until he signs a contract. This is just the extension for 24-25. But because of the way the Toronto Maple Leafs are structured and because of the way free agents tend to go to UFA status in the NHL, if the Maple Leafs don't have a Nylander contract done by the time the season starts, it's pretty much doom and gloom on his future in Toronto. He'd have to get traded soon. There's no way I feel like the Leafs would be able to let this negotiation hang until the end of 23-24 and then get the dotted line signed that time. It doesn't seem like a realistic possibility because you don't ever see this happen. And so for Nylander, who has already been in tough negotiations and has shown that he's willing to drag it out, this is not really the same case with Auston Matthews, whom the guys on the Leafs Morning Take podcast are saying probably has an extension done already. In the meantime, as Rosie mentioned, there's not much to report on the Nylander front, and the same goes for Matthews. When do you expect news on this? Perhaps in September? Honestly, I don't know. With these two guys, it boils down to the team's position. They have players they need to sign, some are overpaid, while others deserve more. There's a salary cap to consider. How will they make that work? I genuinely don't know what they're planning, and I have a gut feeling we might lose Nylander. Sadly, he's one of the players I'd prefer to retain. The reason he deserves a higher salary is that many people want to keep him. And so, this update, if you even want to call it an update, is more doom and gloom than anything. But it brings up a few very good points that because of how everything is shaped around the Toronto Maple Leafs and their salary cap, it does not seem like a realistic possibility that you get this Nylander thing done now if you hadn't already gotten it done earlier. Sure, you could bring up the argument that says, hey, they could just drag out the contract process and they'll get it done before the season starts and everything will be good. But because we've had so few updates and because there seems to be such a tough negotiation here, it doesn't really seem more likely that the Nylander career is going to continue in Toronto, long-term past 23-24 at least. And again, this video could go up and Nylander could have signed a contract an hour before I published it. It very well could go down like this, and it has happened in the past where I've made videos pre-scheduled and pre-uploaded only for the news to happen before the video goes public. I think it's only happened ever twice. The first time it was when Duncan Keith got traded to the Oilers. I made a video talking about how he didn't get traded, and then he did. And then there was the Jeff Petrie trade return that happened literally like a few days ago, where it was like, yeah, Jeff Petrie could get the Canadiens a first, and then he got traded for less than a first, and the video went public after the trade. This could be a rinse and repeat type of thing for William Nylander, if the Toronto Maple Leafs, if Brad Treliving, and if Nylander himself want to prove me wrong. But the way things have gone, I mean, it's the middle of August already. We're already seeing contract negotiations for other free agents stalling, or not free agents, but other guys' extensions stalling. We had talked about Matthews, we brought up the McKinnon idea from earlier. Nathan McKinnon was a guy who many people believe was going to resign, and he did. Easy, capiche. For Auston Matthews, he's sort of in a similar boat. Nobody really thinks that Matthews is going to leave, and the ones who do are trying to capitalize on that fear-mongering by making YouTube videos about it and profiting off of that. Oh wait, that sounds oddly familiar. That idea aside, though, for William Nylander, there seems to be a lot more impending danger with this relationship than Matthews. Toronto and Nylander does not really seem like a fit. The money just does not appear to be there. He wants a lot of money. He's justifiably worth that amount of money. But the Maple Leafs cannot afford it. Most likely not. If any of the other guys are not going to take pay cuts, Nylander shouldn't either. He's been worth a lot more than he has gotten paid for the past few years. Point per game guy, 80 goal guy, or not 80 goal guy, excuse me, 80 point guy. If he was an 80 goal guy, he'd be making a lot more than just $9-10 million a year. But consistent, 30 to 40 goal player, 80 points, consistent in the playoffs too, where other Maple Leafs falter out. This is a talented guy. But is he too talented? Also, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How does this impact the Auston Matthews, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner negotiations? Obviously, two of those are not going on right now. It's only Matthews, but for next season and beyond, we are going to have this entire discussion all over again because that is just the life cycle of news and panic in Toronto. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to whether or not this update or this idea is bad news for you, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.